Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Other Canada podcast. I am your host, Owen Osinde. Today, we have a legend in the building. We have Jean-Yves Roux, the CEO of Natyftv. Today, we're going to be talking about his history in broadcasting and television production and all the trials and tribulations he's had to come to this point where he's at. He's going to provide you deep stories of things that go on behind the scenes of production and broadcast media. You do not want to miss out on this episode. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to the BDC for sponsoring this podcast. We cannot do it without you. And without further ado, let's get straight to the show. Welcome back, everybody, to the Other Canada podcast. I'm your host, Owen Osinde, and today we have a Quebecor pioneer in the building, the CEO of Natyftv, Jean-Yves Roux. How are you doing today, sir?
Fine. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's a pleasure being here with you. I was looking forward to this conversation, making my way down here to Montreal, and I got to say it's an honor to be sitting with you and having this conversation. Just based on what you've been doing for the community, what you're doing to push the narrative forward, and the platforms that you're creating, and also putting others on to give them an opportunity. So before we get started, we want to get deeper into who you are, and you've had a tenured career in the media space, but, what sparked that interest to get into this broadcasting media space that you're in today?
I could say that the real beginning of all this adventure was in the music industry in the mid of the 90s. And I don't want to tell my age, but let's say that I've started reading the music production in 1997. 97. Exactly. Okay. I was starting to produce and manage hip-hop artists in Montreal. And of course, at the same time, I was the manager of several groups. I was producing events, hip-hop events, block parties. That was the fashion back in those days. That
was hot at the time, right?
Yeah.
Block parties, everything, just to get the culture moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was we could say the first gold. The first gold era of hip hop in the Montreal scene, the English and the francophone hip hop scene in Montreal.
For those who don't know any Montreal hip hop legends or maybe underground artists, can you share some that you worked with?
That I work with either by booking them on the shows or working directly with them. I could say Mod Zion, Sans Pression. I've also worked with Casey and MNOP. With several artists from this era, this golden age, the first golden age of the hip-hop era in Montreal and Quebec in general, because back in those days, I remember the first big artists in the hip-hop industry in Quebec that had a big blow-up that influenced the whole industry was the MAtv.
The MAtv?
Yeah, with over 100,000 albums sold back in those days. Oh, yeah, that was a lot of albums. Wow. Think about it.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of years, because at the same time I was a student in cinema and TV production. And after I graduated from college, I went to University of Montreal. And the beginning of 2000, I've decided to start producing music videos.
I'm going to go back to the hip-hop side of things when you said the MAtv and everybody who actually were transcendent in the space. Do you feel like Montreal hip-hop gets the respect it deserves compared to other cities like Toronto, which is like now seen as the Canadian hotbed for hip-hop music and culture?
There's a lot of politics.
A lot of politics.
Yeah. There's a lot of politics because it's two different worlds, Toronto has the chance to be very connected with the U.S. hip-hop scene, with Tory Lanez and Drake and all those big names from Toronto.
The Weeknd, everybody,
you know. But in Quebec, it's a totally different game because it's the politics of language. You know, the French, because it's the French politics. It's the main problem that put a big obstacle, you know, to make sure that the hip hop scene can go somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, so because of this political situation in Quebec, it's really the francophone hip hop scene that find a way to blow up. But when you say blow up, we're talking about a local scene. It's always stayed local.
It's always stayed local.
Exactly. You never had a chance to maybe there's only one or two names from the francophone local scenes that had the chance to blow up outside of Canada. I'm talking about Roy Enoch. And another French artist, I forgot his name, but maybe just 2-3 names. Right now, there's another French rapper from Montreal that just got signed by Universal France. Wow. It's Enima. But since then, I couldn't tell you other real hip hop artists from here that really had, you know, a big blowout outside of Montreal, outside of Canada. That comes from the Quebec hip hop scene. So it's unfortunate, but it's political.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I always feel like, you know, like living in Toronto, there always seems to be, even though we're in the same country, the Montreal and Toronto scene, they never seemed there's like any synergy there, you know, because I think there's like you guys speak French, we speak English, and there's never like any harmony. Just from like an outsider looking, of course I'm not in the hip hop community, but just in general, being observant of it, there's never been able to be like, the rap music in Toronto will be appreciated, but in terms of like working together, it's very rare unless Montreal artists come to Toronto and they start.
Exactly.
And it just feels like all your artists are leaving the city to go and make it in Toronto when they can also make it over here.
Yeah. The English hip hop scene in Montreal had to find their way. The English artists, hip hop artists like Shade of Culture, Buddha Babies. There's a couple of names that had the chance to have some mainstream coverage.
Exactly.
But they had to leave Quebec and make Canadian tours to be able really to go somewhere with their career. So yeah, it's unfortunate that, you know, that they've never had this real connection between Toronto and Montreal. Is it because we never had a hip-hop radio station here in Montreal compared to Toronto? That I think there's The Flow. I think that's the name. The Flow.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's been there for 20 years now. Even to the fact that I think it's changed. The Flow is that changed from the property. It's changed, I think, 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was in existence. Then it got bought. I think about a year and a half ago. And the music that used to be played on that station isn't the same as it was before.
Totally changed.
Before it was like truly authentic. Like hip hop and everything. But
and then the
corporation came
involved.
through, and then they just watered it down.
Always.
It's just, you know, it felt like something that was ours got taken away.
Yeah.
And it just got dismantled and made it to look like just like a vanilla product that you listen to on the radio station.
Wow.
You know, and you know, transitioning. This is something that you're looking to do, right? Like in terms of creating a distinct station and channel towards a diverse community and providing them like actual content that's made for them. And you said you went to university, you studied TV production.
Yeah, TV production.
And then what led you actually what was your first instance in actually working in TV production?
That's the main reason why I'm talking to you about the hip hop scene. It's because it's the hip hop scene that brought me there.
Yeah.
Because the first project I've produced as a TV producer was a music TV show for the hip hop scene of Montreal called Vibeplus. That was on air on a community channel named MAtv. Back in those days, the name of this channel was Vox TV. And they changed the name of the channel from MAtv today. It's still owned by Quebecor, this community channel. And for 2 years, from 2003 to 2005, I've produced this TV show.
So from 2003 to 2005, you're producing this hip-hop TV show for MAtv.
MAtv, yes.
MAtv. What were some of the successes you had with the show?
I could say a big success because the youth didn't that really was in love with hip hop. They couldn't be satisfied with MusiquePlus, which is the French version of Match Music. In Quebec, it's MusiquePlus back in those days because this TV channel doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
So back in those days, MusiquePlus decided to stop broadcasting the Montreal hip hop artists. You know, most of the hip hop artists that was broadcasting their music videos on MusiquePlus was from outside of Montreal.
Yeah.
So, and some people will say that it's some systemic racism behind this. That the owner of MusiquePlus decided to put their effort on broadcasting hip hop artists outside of Montreal. Of course, almost 100% of them are white rappers. But the hip hop local scene of Montreal wasn't broadcast anymore.
Really?
On MusiquePlus. So me and my partners, we've decided to produce a hip hop show because of this situation. But this is kind of strange because the years after, it's the same problem, but it became a global problem. What was at my eyes a problem in the hip hop music scene, finally I found out that no, it's not just about hip hop. It's a general problem.
General problem.
Exactly. And when I find out that, okay, this problem is way much bigger than hip hop. It's a problem. It's a political problem in the society. So I've decided to start thinking in 2006, 2007. I'll already start thinking about launching a 24/7 TV channel.
So like your scope of thinking went from, you know what, hip hop is just one space that like, yes, I can create a content, but you know what, I got to do something bigger for the people to feel heard and listened to, and something they can actually tune into and feel like, hey, that is me on the TV.
It represents
me, and I can actually enjoy this. So what are the first steps you took to actually making this a reality?
The first thing I did, I went through to the Videotron owners that I already knew personally, and because they gave me my first chance to produce TV shows, because MAtv was owned by Quebecor, which is the owner of Videotron, the cable distributor in Quebec. And so I pitched to them that I want to start a new music TV channel that will be more about, you know, the urban music and world beat music. Because for me, it's not just hip hop; it's also reggaeton. It's also Caribbean music like soca, like zouk, like compa. And there's a lot of music like reggae, dancehall. So there's a big spectrum of music that people cannot even hear in radio station here in Montreal. I'm talking more about commercial radio station. And so when I made the pitch to them, the first thing that they told me, because I didn't know the broadcasting game, you know, I was a TV producer, so I know how to produce a TV show, but I didn't know what it was all about, you know, the business of broadcasting. So the first thing they told me, and we're in 2007, they told me, Jean-Yves, the way that works, you have to get your CRTC license. I was like, CRTC? What is this? Exactly. So I start doing my homework to understand that CRTC that I never heard of before. So I did my homework. Me and my partners, we started putting a business plan together. We went to Ottawa to meet with a couple of agents that works for the CRTC to explain to us how
to make this a reality.
Exactly. Yeah. And this, what type of license is available if we want to start this type of channel that we want to start. And this is how we put together a first project named Clovis TV, what was supposed to be a music TV channel based on urban music and world music.
Say that again. What's the name of it?
Clovis TV.
Clovis TV. So that's interesting, right? Because when you go to someone like the CRTC, they have their guidelines, they have their they have a standard of what they want Canadian broadcasting to look like. And here you are pitching something that is totally out of the realm of what they're used to seeing on TV and what fits the narrative, what they want to see. What are some of the pushbacks that you got from when you pitched this idea to them?
Their first reaction was, that's good.
It's refreshing. They're like, oh, okay, that's
it's
different.
refreshing,
It's refreshing.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so they've been very generous with me. And they really took the time to explain to me the different type of license.
Yes.
And maybe what type of license could fit this type of project that I want to bring.
You mentioned licenses a lot. And for those people who don't understand how TV works, explain to us all of the different licenses. Like, what categories of licenses what kind of categories of licenses exist for that space, so people can have a better understanding when you say licenses?
Okay, first thing, and back 10, 15 years ago, there were three kind of license. Okay. You know, because it changed a bit since those days. There's what we call the mandatory TV channel, which is a TV channel that already part of your basic TV channel, and no matter what type of package you take, there's like maybe 10 to 15 TV channels that already there.
It's like basic cable.
Basic cable.
So you plug your wire and you plug it to the TV, it's already in there.
Exactly, it's already in there. This is the mandatory TV channel. You know, and after that, in those days, and there was two type of category. There was category 1 and category 2. Category 1, it's cable TV stations, specialty TV stations, but all the cable distributor had to give access to all the subscribers,
the paying customers. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes,
they have to give them access. And the second category 2, which they call after that category B channel, it's the one that people can choose. If you want to have those channels, you have to choose those channels. And this is with this type of channels that Videotron, Bell, and all those companies, they start creating different kind of package, what they call a la carte.
A la carte
package. Yeah, that you can make your own package.
It's like similar when you want like the high tier sports channel to watch like a sports channel from like let's say Italy soccer or the Premier League. Hey, added on, but it's not available in like the regular package.
Exactly.
Got you.
And after that, there's a fourth one, but it's totally different. It's 4H TV channels. You know, channels from China, channels from the Caribbean, channels from Africa, channels from Italy, from Hispanic countries. But it's pay TV channels that you have to pay maybe like $10 or $7. It costs way much more. But this is what they call 4H or international TV channels.
Got you. And like, what license did you get out of these licenses that you just explained?
It's a category 2.
Category 2.
But the first obstacle that we had to go through, it's when we filed for this first license. It was in 2008 that we filed for this first license. Astral Media, which was the owner, it was an independent broadcaster that was the owner of like 10 TV channels based here in Montreal. It was owned back in those days. It was owned by a Jewish family named the Greenbergs family here in Montreal, and they were the owners of Vibeplus and Musimax, the two music TV channels, and they decided to go to the CRTC and try to block us. You know, and
this is in 2008.
2008.
Okay, so they've been trying to block you even from way back.
Yeah. It was not the same players.
Yes,
but it was the same kind of situation.
So it seems like history is repeating itself, which we'll get into later, of course, right? So 2008, the Greenberg family is the organization is trying to block you from actually appearing on television. What was that major breakthrough like when you actually got yourself on TV?
How it works with CRTC, it's when another company comes in front of them and say, no, they shouldn't get this license because of this, because of that. You know, their main argument, it was that what we want to do, they're already doing it, you know? And I was like, no. If you were doing your job, guys, about the urban music and the world beat music, all those different kind of music out there, I wouldn't be there, you know, doing this thing.
You'd feel satisfied with what Shorty see on TV.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, so and me and my team, the CRTC gave us 30 days to come with an answer to their letters of opposition to the project. And we came with some very strong argument. Yeah. And finally, after 3 months, it was at the end of 2008, we won this first battle.
You won the first battle. And what was that step like when actually implementing now that you won the battle, talk to us about implementation now to execute it.
And this is where things is getting interesting.
Okay.
And after we won this first battle, in the beginning of 2009, I went back to Videotron. And I told them, guys, I got my license, so let's get this contract and let's make this happen. You know, they were kind of surprised because I don't even think that...
They didn't think you could make it happen.
Exactly.
So you come back in their face like, look at that, I got
the license.
Yeah.
And, but after several months of back and forth, they decide to not go ahead. And I was like, what's going on?
What's going on here?
And they said, they have other priorities. Very vague, very, very vague reason.
No direct answers or whatever. Kind of leaving you up in the air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Way much later that I've discovered it was Astral Media and, this political, how could I say, I was very naive. I didn't know all this business worked. I didn't know that it was some kind of monopoly that was controlled by 2-3 major players that decided who can be on air. I didn't know this game.
Yeah.
I thought that you got a license, you get on air.
Exactly.
But no, it doesn't work that way. You have to be part of some clan.
Yeah. It seems like there's like with everything, like especially like when in corporate, like even if you think about like telecom and everything like that, it's controlled by a few other players. And if a mini player comes in to try and like disrupt the market, they're either like bought out right immediately, or they're just like, they just price jack them and they're like, okay, there's no way we're going to let you compete. We're going to continue taking our customers. And no one even knows that happens for TV as well, because there's so many channels that exist. So example, like if you're watching Cogeco, like in Toronto, right? I'm not sure if in Montreal they have Cogeco.
No, Cogeco, they own several radio stations here.
Exactly, right? And there's only a few of them. So like, how do you even give someone a fighting chance to actually stand out in TV if you're portraying that you can actually come in and actually have a fair shot based on merit? Based on merit.
Yeah.
And if you succeed based on merit, there's still other hoops you got to go through. So that means there's like something corrupt within the system of like they pick and choose who is who.
Yep.
And this actually brings me to like the elephant in the room when I got to ask you this. You're a black man who's proposing this idea that is totally out of left field. Like you're promoting content which is celebrating blackness and celebrating diversity. Yep. Do you believe that they saw this as a threat towards the narrative that they want to control in the image of showcasing, hey, these are the stories we want to share. These are the type of people we want to see on TV. And you coming in and disrupting that status quo, we can't let that happen. Am I right when I make that assumption?
Yeah, there's one word for that. This is what we call here systemic racism.
Exactly.
But it's one thing. Before talking about systemic racism, there's another way much bigger problem, which is the structure, the way the CRTC in the last 20, 30 last years, they let all those telecom, they let them buy all those TV stations. Because if we go back 30 years ago in the 90s, they were in Quebec, I don't know for the Canadian market, but in Quebec, most of the TV channels were owned by independent players. Like the Greenberg family, and different other families that own TV channel. Maybe there would be maybe dozens of independent player that owns TV channel. But the CRTC let all those big telecom bought them one by one. So when you pass from 12 independent broadcasters to 2-3 majors that control all the TV stations, of course it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Of course. So before even talking about systemic racism, there's a problem in the system of what we call it became the oligarchy problem.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the first problem. And now the second problem, it's all those owners that got all the powers. It's all white old guys. It becomes a second problem. So it's their world of view, their point of view that is put in front. You know? So it's two problems. It's not one problem. It's two problems.
Yeah. And then when they want to keep legacy media the same, they want it to reflect how they see. They want to see, hey, these are the stories we want. These are the type of news we want. This is how we see Quebecor. We wanted to say this and that. And it's so unfair because when you look at Canada, especially the Quebecor community, there's so much immigration happening. There's so much diversity. When you look at Montreal, when I'm driving around the city and I'm looking at, even in this room right now, if you look at all of us, there's so much diversity. But when you look at the TV, it's not really being celebrated at all.
It doesn't reflect.
It doesn't reflect.
No. But it's a structural problem that was already implemented for the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
You know? So we don't have owners, TV channel broadcasters, owners that come from diversity. We don't have TV producers that was been there for the last 30 years. Maybe there may be one or two, maybe three that I personally know that have been there for the last 20 years. But three, 4 TV producers that has really a lot of content and that they've been making business with different Canadian broadcasters for the last 20 years. I only knew 4 or 5 guys from diversity. When I say diversity, it's not only black. I'm talking about black producers, Latino producers, Arab producers. There's not much of them, you know. And now we're talking about an industry where there's tons of TV producers, but if we're talking about percentage of production companies that has been there for the last 20, 25 years, owned by people from the diversity, maybe 2%, not much more than that.
Yeah, I see. So this is 2009. Walk us through the following years after and actually what ended up happening and, what you were able to get on the television.
For 2 years, we've been in this battle, with Videotron and trying to get on air with Natyftv, and finally, it didn't get anywhere. And the problem here in Quebec, it's Quebecor, the owner of Videotron, they control, in terms of the French market, because for a French TV station, it's like you don't really have a choice. If you want to survive as a media, francophone media, you have to deal with Videotron. So they control over 65-70% of the francophone market here as carriers of TV station. So we had to find a way, which we'd never been able to do. So finally, Natyftv never been able. This first project had never been able to get on air. So the project just died.
Just went down to the grave.
Exactly.
Yeah. How'd that make you feel?
Oh, I was pretty depressed.
Really?
Yeah. At that point, I just left Montreal.
Where'd you go?
New York.
You went to New York?
Yeah, because I have a lot of family in New York.
Big city of dreams, eh?
Yeah.
The concrete jungle, as they say.
Yeah, because, probably the first reason why I left to go to New York, probably because most of my youth, I've been in New York every summer. All my summer, I went to see my family. So I had a lot of of friends and family in Brooklyn. So I spent like maybe 2 months there. I was very depressed, but the energy of New York
just revitalized
exactly.
you. Yeah, you're like,
exactly.
You came back with a vengeance.
Maybe not a vengeance. I came back with a different point of view.
What was that point of view?
Because now we're in 2011, and when I came back in Montreal, I went to a seminar. It's technology. It's a seminar very specialized in technologies breakthrough named C2 Montreal.
C2 Montreal.
Yeah. Okay. And it's every year they make this seminar conference. It's a big conference. There's a lot of international speakers that comes to this seminar. And in 2011, there was Kevin Spacey that came to see.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Came to see you.
Yeah. That came here, and this actor is someone that I have a lot of respect for this guy. So I was like, what is he doing here? And he was talking about this new project that he decided to co-produce and be involved with Netflix. And much people didn't really know what Netflix was. And I was like, Netflix? Isn't it this business that you can rent movies for a loony? Exactly. And like that they can put in a box, in a red box? This is what I remember from Netflix.
Yeah, they hadn't done streaming yet at the time. It's just like kind of mail order.
Exactly.
DVDs.
Yeah, for a loony, mail order.
Exactly.
And when you finish, we're done with the movies, you put it in a red box.
And send it back.
Send it back, exactly. That was their business model at first. So I was like, Netflix, what's going on with those guys? And on the cell phones, on the iPhone, he started showing to the people that is the future. Was showing the streaming the streaming service of Netflix on his iPhone, and I was like, the future? What is he talking about? And this is where he present for the first time at the House of Cards the new TV series House of Cards. That was the first original production of Netflix. And I went home that night, and I've decided to take a look at this House of Cards TV series on Netflix, and I was blown away. I was like, hey, this is definitely the future. I start calling all my friends. I called my partners. Guys, I think this is it. That's the future. Forget about Videotron. Forget about everything. This Netflix company, what they're doing with Kevin Spacey, that's the future. But nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No.
So does it feel like when you noticed what Netflix was doing, you kind of had a sense of control back for yourself? You kind of saw that, you know what, if they can do this, we can do this as well, and no one can stop us, because now we can actually we can go into the market with something we don't need the establishment for.
Exactly, because this is what Netflix did.
Exactly, yeah.
Netflix, it's a tech company that decided to not follow the rules that was already put there. They're the outsider of Hollywood. So when I say we could do the same thing, because we can have access to our people through the social media. So we could definitely do something and put something together. And this is what gave me this new energy. Yeah, I just came back from New York. I wasn't depressed anymore, but I needed something
to feel inspired.
Exactly, to feel inspired. And it inspired me on the get-go. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to try something totally new now. So I decided to came back to my partners. When I saw that my partners from the old project, they weren't that much interested to this new revolution that was starting with Netflix. So I say, okay, you know what? Keep the company. I'm going to start something new.
Yeah. You had no regrets leaving, because you kind of saw that as like a dead opportunity. Yeah. It's just like a lot of incumbents you got to go through just to make your ideas become a reality. But this way you can actually have control. And like, what is it that they didn't see in this new, forget about the content of music, but just in general, the ability to go out there with the power of the internet and build something from scratch, which is yours, and you don't need the hoopla of everybody.
Exactly.
How come they didn't jump on that opportunity? Because if you've been trying this hard with them and they've been seeing how hard, and you present an opportunity that's easier to implement, what part of the vision did they understand in that whole process, in your opinion?
Maybe it's a generational problem, generational way of seeing this business.
Yes.
Because the major partners that was involved in the other company, they were way much older than me, so their way of the way they see the TV industry was still the old way of making business in the TV industry. You know? So this new internet way of making business, for them, there's no money to be made out of this. And I understood, their point of view. I would say, because it was totally new. Netflix was the only major player doing this in 2011.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I didn't want to try to convince them because I was already myself convinced. So as long as I'm convinced of what the future will look like, I'm okay with this.
Okay.
I'm gonna make peace with it and find new partners that will get on board with this new vision of the future, and will create a new company from start, from scratch.
Yeah, and to be fair to your partners too, when you look at 2011, the landscape of it, streaming was such a novelty. You know what I mean? Like if you're watching content online, you got to go through like back-end TV like websites, find like 123movies.com.
Illegal websites.
Exactly, right? It's just like, it doesn't seem like it makes sense. So I can see why they're not really going to go with the vision, because they're like, TV's been here for over 100 years.
Yes.
Like who's going to, like the internet's going to come overtake that? Come on, right?
Oh, come on. And people that want to watch content on the internet, there's a bunch of illegal website to watch them. So how can you make money with the streaming service? So I understood that, totally understood. So I'm not gonna waste energy trying to convince old guy that still want to make business with the old fashioned way. So I told myself, it's okay, keep doing what you're doing, and I'm just gonna put myself on this new thing. But something that I knew, I don't have that Netflix money, because Netflix had something in their pockets. It's deep pockets. They had deep pockets.
And they'd been in the business of the DVD business. And so they already had established customer base. They already had distribution. They already had like they already had several deals with several studios. Exactly.
Because something people must know, it's all the studios, Disney, DreamWorks, Universal, Warner's, Sony, and they were laughing their way to the bank, because Netflix had this reputation of being the check giver. Netflix was just going to every office of all those studios and just give them checks.
Make something happen.
Yeah. And how much does it cost to licensing for the internet? And they were laughing. It was just extra money for all those studios. So they didn't care, So because they didn't know what Netflix was doing in those days. But we don't have, me and my new team that I was starting to put together, we don't have this type of connection, this type of money that they have. So I decided that the best way to start, it's to create a new branding, and to get this credibility. And credibility today, it's to have a real TV station with real broadcasting that will give us access to ads agency, because ad agencies won't make business with you directly if you're just a web TV, So I knew it. This is why I've decided, me and my new partners, to go back to the CRTC and get a new license.
And what was that license? You know, you broke down several licenses. Which license did you fight for now?
And there was no fight this time because the business already started changing, you know. So even it was totally different for this new license that we decided to get. There was no telecom, no company came after us because they had other business to take care of. So 2012 and 2008, it's totally different.
The landscape has changed.
Exactly.
Yes.
Totally changed. And they were making so much money, you know, with all those new TV stations that they were launching. And they knew how to block any new TV channel. So even if you get a license, it doesn't mean that you will get carriage for your TV station. So they got the game totally locked down. So they didn't care that you get a new license.
Yeah, so they kind of saw you as a small fry, even if you, because they're already making money. They're like,
exactly.
Like, already good. Like, what is he going to do?
No, exactly. He already lost the first round. Yeah, he got the first license, but where did it get? Nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, so what is he going to do with this new license? You know, but the good thing is the fact that, okay, it wasn't that hard to get this new license, but it was hard to get the carriage distribution deal. That was a hard one.
What is a carriage distribution deal?
That's the deal that I was starting, that I needed with Videotron. It's to be distributed for their subscribers. You know, if you have a license and your TV station is nowhere to be found with any cable providers, so your license has no value.
And how are you going about making this content? Because if you have the carriage license, which content are you, because this time that's gone by, you left your partners, they were making content on music and hip hop and etc. What were you looking to create now with this new vision from what you've seen with Kevin Spacey and what he's trying to do with Netflix? Were you still sticking with the music, or were you looking at going more TV shows, cooking shows, etc., like that type of content reflecting the diaspora of the one that you're targeting?
The big discovery I've made out of this first failure, I could call it like this, it's the lack of diversity. That's the first thing that I've discovered. When I've discovered that, it's not a hip hop industry problem. You know, it's a society problem.
Yes.
The lack of diversity. You know, it's something I've discovered in 2009, 2010, when I saw that I had a big problem dealing with Videotron. So this is why I told myself, you know what, with this new license, the main mandate of this new license will be to give a voice for the diversity. That's the first thing I told myself. You know, because there's a lot of people out there, you know, that got a lot of creative ideas, but they cannot make a deal with any of those existed TV stations here in Quebec. It's always the same people that you see on TV for the last 20, 30 years. So the lack of diversity, I know that I had to tap into that. Exactly. Okay. I have to tap into that.
So walk us through actually making that content happen with that reflects the diversity. Because, you know, you get this new deal, you have this new vision of the diversity. Now walk us through making that content available for everybody to see.
First thing, at the same time that we had to make some back and forth with Toronto, because we knew that in Montreal, forget about Montreal, if you want a carriage deal, we have to go to Toronto and deal directly with the big boss of Bell, because Bell were the only, among those big telecom corporate companies, that was the only one that we knew that we could find a way to make a deal. So we make some couple of back and forth between Montreal and Toronto, and but at the same time we start make some travels outside of Canada to find some other independent producers that add a lot of catalogs. Because what we need is to start working with independent producers from other countries that already have content for cheap price that we could put on air.
On air. And it had to be French content.
It's French content, exactly.
Okay. And, you know, coming from Toronto, there's like a certain distinctive French. There's like Quebecor French.
Yeah.
There's like Haitian French. There's Paris French.
Yeah.
Right? And it always seems to clash over like whose French is more polished.
Yeah. You're right about this. But the good thing, it's in Montreal, when you talk about the community of Montreal, which is a melting pot, you know, of Arab people, Black people, Hispanic people, we don't have this problem. You know, all those different accents of French, it's normal.
It's normal.
Yeah,
right?
you know, and here in those different area, in the urban area of Montreal, in Saint-Michel, Montréal Nord, RDP, Parc Extension, in those, it's normal. You know, not only it's normal, but even, you know, those specific words that is used by Arab people, by Asian people, it's all mixed. You know, so you can in the same sentence. If you go to any high schools here in Montreal, in the same sentence, you could hear a young boy in the same sentence using a Creole word, an Arab word, and a French word in the same sentence. You know, so it's normal. We don't have this problem. The white Caucasian people outside of Montreal, all those accents, it's something new for them. You know, but in Montreal here, no. It's totally normal.
Still diversity too, you know.
Exactly.
Even in Toronto, right? Like someone can be speaking English, but they have like a Jamaican accent, and then they mix it with a Canadian accent.
Exactly.
It's like a mixture of like Irish, Jamaican, British. Like it's just a whole hodgepodge of dialects that you're hearing someone is talking.
So that became the normality.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But it's the same thing in Montreal. Montreal, the same thing. Even and when I say Montreal, it's not just the island of Montreal. It's also Laval and Rive Sud of Montreal, the old urban area of Montreal that it's now over 4 million people. Because what people needs to know, it's half of Quebec province live in Montreal. It's like Quebec now, it's 8 million people, but 4 million people, it's the urban area of Montreal. So in me and my new partners, we decided, you know what? The TV station need to be representative of this urban reality.
It's urban reality, yeah.
Which eventually will be a Quebec reality, not just a Montreal reality.
Exactly. When you went to these producers to buy their content, typically how much does content acquisition cost? At the cheap level, as you said, it costs.
To use a good example, it depends how you make the approach. You know, if you approach independent producers with the image, are you a big shot? They're gonna charge you as a big shot. You know, but the way you approach them to say, you know what, we are independent TV channel, you know, and we have to find a way to survive because we have to deal with all those big telecom that control that control all the spectrum of the TV business here, especially in Quebec. When we make them understand our reality, when I say cheap, it's very cheap. Example. A very nice TV series that we bought from French producers. It's called Voyage en Délices. So it's a girl that travel all around the world to discover new type of food. But she always goes, especially in Caribbean countries. So it was perfect for a channel. You know, it was 60 episodes.
60 episodes.
Exactly. It's 3 seasons of 22 episodes for each season. And it cost us only $6,000.
What?
For 60 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you buy a series like that, is it like a
So it's a license.
It's a license.
We don't buy the rights. We just have a license. Usually the license, it's from 2 years to 4 years.
And is it like a monthly payment you make, or is it just like a one-time 6,000?
No, when it's a small amount like that, it's a one-time payment.
Jeez,
You know?
okay.
When it's a bigger payment, by example, because we also break a couple of deals with American studio like Lion Gates and Universal Studios, it costs way much more. Then we have, of course, to make a deal with them for monthly payment.
Gotcha.
You know, like Lion Gates, there's some movies of Tyler Perry's that we broadcast on the TV channels. Usually, most of their movies, we had a pretty good deal for blockbusters movies from Tyler Perry. It's more like $2,000 for each movie.
So I know, like, we don't have a whole. I can speak to you about this whole day. I'm gonna get to Natyftv.
Yes.
Right. Talk to us about how this actually evolved and how it rebranded to Natyftv.
Yeah, as I said, and finally we made some back and forth with Toronto, and we finally signed the deal in 2017, and launched the TV station in 2018, June 14. But the name of the channel wasn't Natyftv; it was CNV-TV, which means Channel New Victory. You know, but in the first 2-3 months of the broadcasting, we found out that most people couldn't even remember the name of the channel. So we said that, oh my God, we have a big problem here. You know, so we better change the TV channels. Since we just started the channel, it's now that we have to do this, because the more we wait, the harder it will be to make that move. And so we put focus group together, and we came up with 50 different names, and because it's a branding,
Yes.
we have to build a branding. So we had to find a name that reflect, what we want to do. And what's the good thing with Natyftv, when it was one guy in the focus group that came up with this name, and the first time I saw in all of 50 names, I saw Natyftv, and I said, this is the name I want. Because Natyftv in English, it's natives. The natives is the first people of the land, the natives. And it's a word that can be used anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So we are all natives from somewhere. So we said, we need to be the TV channels for the natives peoples from everywhere in the world, because we're all a bunch of people that came from other countries, either us or our parents, or older before that, because I know that some communities have been there for 3, 4, 6 generations. So we're all immigrants. So some kind of way we're all natives from other countries.
I love that. Yes. Since rebranding to Natyftv till 2022, now we're wrapping it up.
Yeah.
How many subscribers of Natyftv have you been able to accumulate over this period?
Yeah, no, we're not far from 100,000 subscribers, which is way much not a lot in this business. And of course, more than half of them are from Bell. Yes. Because Bell is the only major broadcaster that we've been able to have a deal. The other ones are small IP distributor. And that's the other reason why we've decided to go to the CRTC in 2020. We've decided to go to the CRTC to ask to change the status of the channel, because we've made a lot of back and forth with Quebecor and Videotron, but it gave no result.
And that's actually another topic I want to get into right now. Right now, as it stands, you have a petition, right, online against the CRTC. They're trying to block your channel, right? Share more about this, and like so far, what's the status of it, and can you give us more details on it?
First thing, to make sure that people understand the situation, it's in 2020 when we went to the CRTC, the type of license that we asked the CRTC, it's since the major broadcaster carriers here in Quebec don't want to make any deal with us, for sure, we won't be able to survive on a long-term perspective. And so that's the first reason that brought us here. And so we told the CRTC that a mandatory license would be the only solution for us to be able to survive for as a long-term TV station. And the type of mandate that we have, it's a social mandate, because we want to create, a safe space for all the racialized producers, because the problem is still there. Even if all those big corporations are trying to make us believe that we are open to diversity, but this is BS.
It's all lip service.
Exactly. They don't care, about diversity. You just want to give them a good image that they are open to diversity, But us, we want to do the real job, So we're not here to compete with them. Even if you would like to compete with them, we don't even have their resource. We just want to have the chance to survive in the long term and do our own thing. And the CRTC saw that our business plan and our business model and what we want to do, the type of mandate that we have, made sense. So, but it took 2 years just to get to this final, the final step of this process. It takes a lot of time, and it's in November, that November 7. Couple of weeks ago, that all the telecom, so Quebecor, Cogeco, Rogers, they all send letters to the CRTC telling the CRTC, oh no, they don't need this license. We already, all the TV channels that we own, they do a great job. They had the audacity to tell the CRTC that they are doing a great job
of showing diversity.
Exactly.
And that's a bunch of crap.
I was totally amazed at how indecent those people can be.
Yes.
And this is, for me, that was another proof that those people, not only they don't care, but they don't even realize how much what they even say doesn't make sense. They don't realize it. This is how much disconnected they are.
And for all of them to come together, like you're talking Cogeco, you're talking Rogers, you're talking
Quebecor, all
of them together to come in.
Yeah, they all send their letters.
So it's one thing to say it's only Quebecor, but Rogers, but they're all coming together. Don't you think that's a little bit of they're conspiring against you? It looks like it.
It's not a conspiration. It's an oligarchy that has been there for the last 20 years. And it's just business as usual. This is how they work. This is how they've been working. I've seen it. I've made my homeworks before I've been in this situation. There was another situation happened in 2017 with another community TV station that tried to have this type of license in Toronto. And I spoke to the people that tried to have this type of license, and they've been blocked the same way. So no, this is the way they work. They're here to keep control of the narrative. It's a money thing, and it's a control thing.
So the reason they want to keep the status quo is just to control what we see on TV.
Exactly, it's to control what they send and make sure that they're making the money. Because not only they give access to internet, they give access to cable, they give access to cell phones, but they own TV stations. So if new independent TV channel arrives in the market, their TV station will have to lose a bit of money to this new TV station in terms of advertising. And of course, in terms of subscribers, viewers, exactly. Yeah. So it's a money thing. All those telecom, those big corporations, they are controlled and managed by lawyers and accountants.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy too? Like there was a study they were showing that the black dollar, when you look at how much black people spend, it's in the trillions.
Yeah.
Right. We actually outpace other groups in spending and consumption, and
we're also a trendsetter.
And transcend, and exactly, we do a lot of the trend setting in music, and dance, food, and everything. So you can imagine you pose as a threat to the establishment, because if you actually cater to content that's actually reflecting, the diaspora, that's a lot of dollars. Not just right now, but if you look at
in the long term,
exactly, future value of the dollar as you continue growing, that's a lot of like share they're losing of that dollar, and they don't want you to be a part of it. So they'll just rather keep you in the corner, just like
because they don't know the culture.
They don't know. They think they know the culture.
To be honest with you, that's what I think. I don't think they think they know. I think they know they don't know. And because they know they don't know, they're scared. Because here's this guy that definitely know a lot of stuff that we don't know. And they never care to know.
But why don't they collaborate with you and say, you know what, I see what you're doing. We as Canada, we always pride ourselves on diversity, bringing people together. But we want to see your content reflected on the people who live in Canada. Why don't they want to collaborate with you? That would make the most sense.
It's cultural. In Quebec, it's the way they make business. What they don't know, they're not interested. It's the way. In the United States, it's more like, hey, there's some money we can make with those guys.
They have an open mind.
Open mind because of business.
Yes.
Here, even if there's money to make, they're not interested. Even if there's money to make.
Damn. So, from what I'm hearing, they want to make money. You're showing them they can make money, but they don't want to make money.
Exactly.
And like
I know it's kind of strange.
It's strange. Like how do you not want more money?
But it's cultural.
Yeah.
It's cultural.
Yeah.
So you have to understand. I have to accept that. It's something that when I've discovered this, there's only two ways. Either you get obsessed about this and frustrated, or you accept it and find a way to deal with it.
And with this in play right now, what do you see the future of Natyftv looking like if you're facing this much adversity right now?
We have a lot of support, way much more support than I thought. So I really think that we'll have a breakthrough, that this license will be approved somewhere in 2023, and the future will be way much brighter than people think. And there's a lot of doors that will be open. Why? Because the way the ecosystem is made here for independent producers to have access to grants and tax credits, because 85% of the money that is injected in TV production here in Quebec came from taxpayers. But to have access to this money, it's a lot of money, by the way. Yeah. We're talking about SODEC, Téléfilm Canada, CMF, federal credit tax, provincial credit. There's a lot of money that are the independent producers from racialized communities could have access. But the first thing they need to have access to this money, it's a broadcaster. This is why Natyftv is important. And after that, sky's the limit. Exactly, because to launch a streaming service, it's that will be the next step also. Exactly. Because we already know from years ago, as I told you, that Netflix showed me the future in 2011. I saw the future, that nobody wanted to see, but we need to be part of the ecosystem, because there's too much money on the here that are tax dollars from our parents, from my aunties, it's the taxpayer dollars. And how come 85% of taxpayers of involved in what we see on TV and we don't see ourselves. It doesn't make sense. We paid for what is on TV. We paid for this. So we need to be there also. So that's the first step. And the second step, once we get the money to produce content by us for us, now we can start talking about streaming, to be on the internet and everything. Because right now, okay, people will tell you, oh, but this, forget about Videotron, forget about CRTC, there's the internet. Yeah, but the internet is controlled by two major companies. Google, of course, YouTube, and Facebook. They are making the real bucks. The little bit of YouTubers that making little bucks, but that's not business. It's like telling us, but you say you can find a deal with the NBA, you can find a deal with as a basketball player, but it's like one of a million. If you want to build a business, you cannot build a business on the lottery ticket.
Exactly. You need a foundation for it.
Of course.
Yeah.
So there's an ecosystem, there's a lot of money, and the racialized people here in Quebec, it's 13% of the population. It's over 1 million people here in Quebec that is racialized. So we cannot be 13% of the population and we don't have access to even 1% of this money. It doesn't make sense. And this is what we want to change.
So as we wrap up the year, what are your top 3 goals for 2023?
Finalize the CRTC license deal. Second thing, put myself out there, all my energy on the streaming service of Natyftv. And the third thing would be make sure that all those independent producers out there from racialized communities knows about us and come to my team to present their project and make sure that they have access to all this money that is already available.
Wow. Yeah. Jean, hearing your story has been like really inspiring, and, I feel for you first and foremost with everything that you're going through, but with your vision and your persistence, I have no doubt that you are going to have a breakthrough, and the vision that you do have for portraying this content for us is actually going to become a reality. Where can people find you?
Natyftv, Natyf, Natyftv. It's very easy to find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and even on Google. And the first thing you'll see on our page, it's the petition that you can also go sign when you find us. So as soon as you find us on one of those platforms, go sign the petition.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us today on the Other Canada podcast. I am your host, Owen Osinde, and you just heard Jean-Yves Roux, the CEO of Natyftv. And we will see you on the next episode of the Other Canada podcast. I'm Owen Osinde, signing out. Have a great day, everybody.